Welcome to You're Not Broken, Just Rewiring, a free audiobook podcast by me, Glenn Ostlund. Chapter 4. Pain is a message, not a malfunction. Is it just me, or do we spend most of our energy trying to silence pain before we ever ask it what it's trying to say? Maybe it's the tightness in your chest before a meeting, the heaviness behind your eyes that no nap can fix, the strange ache in your gut when you visit your parents. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it hums, buzzes, glitches, and instead of listening, we reach for the scroll, the snack, the spreadsheet, the story. We tell ourselves, I'm just tired. I'm just overthinking. I'll feel better tomorrow. But what if that pain wasn't asking to be fixed? What if it was asking to be heard? Not the opposite of thriving. Pain isn't the opposite of thriving. It's the first whisper of it. Your nervous system isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to communicate. That tension in your shoulders? Maybe armor you didn't know you put on. That knot in your stomach? Maybe grief rehearsing its lines. That numbness in your chest? Maybe a part of you that stopped speaking because no one ever listened. We've been taught to see pain as error, as malfunction, as something to mute. But maybe that's because we've confused discomfort with danger. We forgot that thriving often begins where language ends and the body starts speaking instead. Try this. Pause. Close your eyes. Breathe into that part of you that hurts. Now ask it, what are you trying to protect? You might not get words, but you might get a flicker, a shift, a sigh, and that's enough. That's listening. Pain as signal. Pain is not random. It's not meaningless. It's patterned, purposeful, like a fire alarm, not the fire. Like a dream you forgot but still feel. In somatic therapy, we say, the symptom is not the problem. It's the messenger. Your system isn't broken. It's adaptive. That shutdown after a hard conversation, your body conserving energy. That anxiety before a decision, possibly your intuition trying to speak before fear shuts it down. Even behaviors labeled maladaptive often serve sacred functions. Perfectionism may have once bought you belonging. Addiction may have once provided the only available relief. These aren't flaws. They're strategies. Form born from function. And as long as the need remains, the form evolves, until you notice what's underneath. Remember in the preface when we asked, what if your anxiety, your compulsions, your shutdowns or outbursts weren't signs of failure, but signals, the ancient language of your nervous system trying to bring you back to balance? Let's return to that now and look a little closer. That tension in your chest, it might be your system scanning for threat, mobilizing just in case. That heaviness in your limbs, it could be a protest against overperformance, your body asking for rest, not more effort. The blankness, the numb, a protective veil drawn over sensations that once felt too big to bear. The racing thoughts or sudden highs, maybe a pressure valve opening, movement arising after being too long compressed. The ache in your neck, the migraine that follows conflict, the knot in your gut, these aren't random. They're patterned. They're memory. Repetitive behaviors, whether they look like scrolling, shopping, scrubbing, or spiraling, They may be ritualized attempts to soothe uncertainty, restore order, or hold back chaos. Emotional flooding, outbursts, impulsive retreats. They might be your body's only way of reestablishing boundaries that were once ignored. The collapse after holding it all together. These are not malfunctions, they are messages. They mean your system is in conversation with itself, trying, adjusting, rebalancing, reaching toward coherence in the only way it knows how. Even when it looks messy, even when it feels unbearable, the body is still speaking, and the system is still listening. You don't need to decode every signal. You just need to begin listening. Your nervous system knows what it's doing. Your nervous system is built to seek balance. Even when the signals seem chaotic, there's a rhythm, a pattern of protection, a recalibration. In polyvagal theory, the vagus nerve plays a central role in managing these states. Vagus means wandering, and this aptly named nerve stretches from your brainstem down through your throat, heart, lungs, and gut. A sprawling, bidirectional superhighway that helps regulate your body's core survival systems. It both activates and soothes. It ramps up when action is required, activating the sympathetic nervous system, which prepares the body to fight, flee, freeze, or fawn, and it winds things down when rest is required through the parasympathetic branch. When it's overwhelmed, pushed to the point of breaking, it doesn't actually break, it retreats, it reroutes. It powers down like a flipped breaker, not in failure, but in defense. That's not dysfunction, that's intelligence. The body saying to the mind, "You're doing too much. We'll take it from here." Imagine you've entered a race. The only instruction, sprint as hard as you can for as long as you can. So you do. You push. You override the ache, the breathlessness, the whispers to slow down. Your mind says, "Break a record, prove yourself, don't fall behind." The body says, "Pause." But the mind can't afford to listen. It's competing against others, against expectations, against time itself. So it keeps pushing. That's your sympathetic nervous system in overdrive. The vagus nerve, designed to bring calm and restoration, gets hijacked by urgency. And like a system forced to sprint without end, it starts to collapse. Not out of weakness, but because it's not being heard. And when that override happens, day after day, year after year, the body adapts. It rewires itself to match the signals it's receiving from the mind. What we call disease may be less a failure and more a form of obedience. Fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, IBS, panic attacks, migraines, depression. These are the consequences of a system reshaped by prolonged imbalance. Polyvagal theory and psychoneuroimmunology show us how unresolved stress, trauma, and misattunement of the body's needs lead to dysregulation at the cellular level. These aren't defects. They're intelligent recalibrations. And when the body senses safety, when healing becomes even marginally possible, the system starts to shift. It sends out a quiet call: rest, repair, reconnect. Inflammation isn't just in joints or skin. It's in nerves, in tissues, in microsignals between cells. And when inflammation rises, so does the invitation to pause. Translation device. Pain becomes interoceptive signal. Dysfunction becomes adaptive response. Trauma becomes interrupted regulation. Healing becomes listening to the system's intelligence. This isn't abstraction. This is neurobiology, This is wiring trying to rewire. Trauma doesn't just hurt, it separates. Trauma isn't just what happened to you. It's what had to be silenced so you could keep going. It splits the self into fragments. Your mind says, I'm fine. Your body says, I'm not. Your spirit says, I miss myself. The system adapts, always. But the cost of adaptation is often coherence. That's when the symptoms begin. That's when pain begins to whisper, not to punish, to reconnect. When I left the religion I was raised in, I thought the hardest part would be explaining my beliefs. It wasn't. That part was actually fun. The deeper challenge was the unrecognized ache, the shapeless grief, the loss of coherence. My soul had outgrown the structure, but didn't yet have language for what came next. My body felt like a cracked antenna, still receiving, but no longer tuned. And my mind, disconnected from the signals of my body, tried to fill in the blanks. I didn't know what my lower back pain was trying to tell me. I wasn't listening to the steady rise in my blood pressure, or the way the numbness I felt inside mirrored the creeping numbers on the bathroom scale. My mind spun narratives, constructed meaning, looked for resonance wherever it could, mostly outside of myself, often in blame, ridicule, judgment. This person, that system, that broken institution. I didn't yet understand that the discomfort was coming from within, that my nervous system was trying to speak. And if you've listened to my mind expressing itself through podcasting over the past 13 years of Infants on Thrones, you can hear it, that hollow searching, that chrysalis stage where the old self dissolves and something unnamed begins to stir. It took me years to understand. The ache wasn't regression, and it wasn't about external forces. It was my own internal processing. It was signal. It was soul labor, the painful breath before something new is born. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to solve your pain like a riddle. You don't have to analyze or dissect it. You just have to stay with it, to witness it. That's when it begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you honored it. Presence is the alchemy. When the system feels safe enough to speak, it often no longer needs to scream. Closing image. Picture this, a geode. On the outside, rough, ordinary. On the inside, crystal, pattern, light. Pain is the pressure that cracks you open, not to destroy, but to reveal. Because you're not broken, you're rewiring, always.